Welcome to Inside the Arena, your source for everything off the ice, off the court, and outside the field of play. With your hosts, KOMO Sports Director Niko Tamurian and KOMO Senior Reporter Chris Daniels.
David Lee once again.
Best voice ever, by the way.
Yeah, David Lee. Right, we've talked about this in the past. Kind of sounds like those Chicago Bulls mid-'90s games right at the start. I don't know if you saw any of the DNC in Chicago. I am going to start making a pitch to have Little John, though, announce us here before every episode. Episode number 13, buddy.
13 is lucky for me, by the way.
Why is it lucky?
I don't know. It just always worked out that way. 2013 was a good year. Got engaged, stuff like that. I was born on the 13th of February. Basketball number growing up was 13.
I was born on the 13th as well. And it's Taylor Swift's favorite number.
Yeah, I did hear a thing or two about that. Yes.
Yeah, so Taylor Swift. We'll just talk about that during the show, and I'll see how many people.
Taylor Swift's favorite number.
Yes,
heard it here first.
Hey, we've got a special interview today from heaven.
Yeah, hot dogs from heaven.
Yeah, the brain behind hot dogs from heaven. Also, Sue Bird, the new Mariners manager, Dan Wilson. And we're going to get right to it. We're going to get right into Four Corners. This is something that we do every week. Every week here on Inside Arena. We go around the Four Corners talking about what's good and what's bad in the world of sports, off the field, off the ice, off the field of play. And let's start with the good, Niko.
The good comes out of the bad. Tough situation for the Mariners. You got to let a manager go, and I'll talk more about that in my bad in a minute as well. But what's really cool for me is the good that's been made out of this. Dan Wilson, if by relieving Scott Service right now, that's the only time you can really promote Dan Wilson that way. Because if you do it pro season, fans are going to clamor for perhaps a proven winner, something like that. But Wilson comes in right now, and this is a chance for an all-time Mariners fan favorite, an outstanding guy too. And anybody who meets him, and I've had just limited interaction with him. And so that's my positive, is that, listen, if you're going to have a negative of have to fire a manager mid-season, at least you get the positive of Dan Wilson, who has very quickly gotten the Mariners players to buy in. How it all turns out, we'll find out in about a month. But to take that really awful situation and turn it into what's been a really good atmosphere at T-Mobile Park, both in attendance and the players' reaction to a new manager, I think that given the tough circumstances, the Mariners have done almost everything right out of that scenario. Almost will be another corner coming up in a second.
Yeah, and you were there the day he talked to the media, correct?
Correct, yeah. And I would say we always talk about winning the press conference. I think he did that by just being Dan Wilson.
34 games as you look at the schedule. This is going to be fun. I know these guys are ready to take it on, and I'm excited with this opportunity. This is this has been a home for us for a long time. This has been an organization that I've spent some time with, and to be in this position, to have this opportunity, I'm extremely grateful for that, humbled by it, and I want to do the best job possible to help get all of us back to the playoffs in the quickest route possible.
If the Mariners get back to the playoffs after just 34 games of Dan Wilson, this town will erupt with euphoric excitement, and it'll be one of the coolest stories in Seattle Mariners history.
I always like to look at this from the dynamics off the field, right? We were saying the sky was falling last week as we were heading into that big move when we were recording this. And what's interesting, at least from where I sit, is Dan has been a part of this community for 20 or so years. He is a friend of ownership. Jerry DiPoto came here not necessarily as a local guy or a friend of ownership. He's been here close to a decade now, but that's an interesting dynamic there as somebody who has been with the franchise in some capacity longer than Jerry DiPoto. It's going to be interesting to watch how this all plays out at the end of this year. Hey, I got something that's good too.
Good any way you look at it.
Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe.
Yeah.
What a week it has been for both of them who have retired from their respective sports, being honored in the last week. Big to-do at Lumen Field with the rain, with Megan Rapinoe having her number officially retired in a special ceremony. And Sue Bird, she has her own street. She doesn't have the court, but she has a street that's named Sue Bird Court. She had the mayor, Bruce Harrell, out at Climate Pledge Arena at the corner there, Lenny Wilkins Way, to officially unveil the street that is now named after Sue Bird. I think there's some history here in Seattle with a woman, a female athlete, getting a street named after her. This does not happen very often in Seattle. Edgar Martinez, Lenny Wilkins, and now Sue Bird. And I had a chance to talk with her about going to the Paris Olympics, not getting the gold medal, watching her friends get another gold medal, and also this renewed interest in the WNBA, heightened interest in the WNBA, if you just look at TV ratings and ticket sales. I asked her whether she felt like, hey, she still had something left in her based on all of that. Here's what she had to say. Any tinge whatsoever of picking up the ball again after going to Paris?
Hell no.
All the attention this year at the WNBA?
Yeah, so my standard line is, which is true, it's not really, yeah, I would love to play now. Who wouldn't? I mean, when things are starting to pick up, the excitement, the viewership, the fan bases, everything. But as a 23-year-old, not as a 43-year-old, that ship sailed. So of course there's moments where I wish I could get back out there. Then reality sets in. You know, I take a look at my knees and I'm like, this is not happening. And so then I'm able to, you know, just kind of live in the moment and understand that I can still be a part of it, albeit in different ways. I can still have impact. You know, all those good things. But yeah, for me, this is seeing where the WNBA is now is something that I fought for, and I was a part of that fight for a very long time. And it's actually really enjoyable and validating to have it, for lack of a better, turn the corner that it's turned. Because that's we knew it, we all knew it, we believed, and it's really great to see it actually have this like what feels like a snowball, right? It's just continuing to pick up momentum. And so even though I'm not playing, I do very much feel a part of it, and it's truly gratifying.
Sue Bird there, also part of the Storm ownership group. Nice little private ceremony, but her and Megan both on hand, looking cool with their shades on a sunny day. We had a sunny day in Seattle this month on one of the coldest in memory. So the sun came out for Sue Bird there outside Climate Pledge. What about the negative, though? There's some negative stuff.
Yeah, you know, I talked a minute ago, and I you know, listen, there's some positives that come out of this Mariners regime change. And I know it's difficult anytime you lose a manager and whatnot. And I still think Scott Service is a good manager. It's just you have to make these changes. And we talked at length about this before. The only negative I lament is the fact that Scott Service had to find out by looking at the crawl of Major League Baseball Network, or another news channel, as Jerry DiPoto put it. Now, I commend Jerry DiPoto for being forthcoming about that, because I'm certain he hates it. And I'm not going to speculate on how it, quote unquote, leaked to Ken Rosenthal, because that would insinuate that it was a Mariners problem. And you don't know if it's DiPoto letting somebody at the league offices know, and somebody from MLB leaks it to Ken Rosenthal. I don't think anything was done malicious here, far from it. I just lament that Scott Service had to find out after 9 years in town the way he found out on the crawl on a news channel, as Jerry DiPoto put it. And, you know, listen, fans hear that. We heard that. We were surprised, and they go after Mariners management. I don't think it was quite that way. I don't think there's some big leak with the Mariners or anything like that. I think it was just one of those circumstances. If I had to guess, and it is a guess, it is speculation, it probably came from outside the Mariners, like Major League Baseball's offices, something like that, telling Ken Rosenthal, hey, be ready. And Ken, being the great reporter he is, did the rest of the work. So that's what I would say. Listen, I love the energy from the Mariners after. I love the way the players have bought into Dan Wilson. If you're going to say a negative this week for me, it was a guy that, and Jerry DiPoto would agree with this, a guy who gave 9 years to Seattle, did bring it back to the playoffs, and did a lot in the community. Him and his wife did a lot for, helping homeless pets in the area. The fact that he had to find out that way, that's not a good thing. And I know they know that. That just kind of, it stunk to see that happen that way.
Well, and you know this, that Jerry DiPoto and Scott Service, longtime friends, roommates, played in the majors together. This was personal for both of them. That also led to people speculating in advance that Jerry DiPoto wouldn't make this kind of move. You and I also were on the air the day that this all went down, and I pointed out that the timing here is rough for this franchise when they are dealing with the collapse of Root Sports, losing the rights to the Seattle Kraken, losing the rights to the Portland Trail Blazers. They're worried about, hey, if they do not make the playoffs this year, there's going to be a loss in fan interest and a loss in season ticket renewals. All of that, we saw it with the Kraken. All of that is a factor here.
Yeah.
On why you make a coaching decision like that. Speaking of TV, I'll stay negative on a couple of different things.
Yes.
I'm going to cheat. I'm going to cheat this week as we bring it home.
No such thing.
Comcast Xfinity. They may black out the Huskies. We'll see if this gets resolved by the time people hear this. But there's a carriage dispute with Comcast Xfinity that may make it tougher for people to watch the Huskies on the Big Ten network in their first game on Saturday. And we'll see if this gets resolved. This is one of those things that sometimes gets resolved at the last minute. But right now, the Huskies, if you have Comcast Xfinity and can't get the Big Ten network, you may not see the Huskies play. And by the way, shameless plug, the Cougs will be seen for free over the air on the CW in Seattle.
I'll tell you,
our sister station.
We talked about that at length. I mean, for the Cougs being left out in the Pac-2 or whatever, that CW national carriage deal for them is I'm not just saying it because it's our station. It's a really good deal for the Beavs and the Cougs. I like that.
Well, and along those lines, that's why I wanted to say I wanted to cheat this week and actually have a fifth thing, because it's related to the Washington Huskies. Did you see this? That the Washington Commanders, DC's football team, they have a new naming rights agreement. And you know what they're going to call the stadium?
What are they going to call it?
Northwest Stadium.
Oh.
So the Washington Commanders are going to play in Northwest Stadium. Not to confuse anybody who's a fan of the Washington Huskies, the Washington Commanders in a naming rights deal are playing on the East Coast in Northwest Stadium.
Tell them to stay. The other DC can stay in that DC, or the other Washington can stay in that Washington.
I'm tired of telling people I live in Washington and having them think that it's Washington DC. This is just more confusing for everybody.
Yeah. Whatever. I hate it too, Chris. Great negative point on the four corners.
Yeah, so there we go.
Like the fifth corner.
The fifth quarter, or so I've heard that somewhere before.
Yeah, fifth quarter, like a high school football show, like after the whatever you want to call it.
I love you guys.
You know what?
I love those guys.
You know, at least the Commanders aren't going to be good, and they're not going to be on national TV or anything. So not a lot of people are going to see that confusion.
Yes. Hey, let's not confuse anybody about the Supersonics. Okay,
yeah,
we gotta fill every week. We're doing this, the Supersonic Minute, as the buzz continues to build. Look at that. We have a logo and everything. Wait. Hey, we got to do one of these. Here we go. For the Supersonic Minute. Here you go. I was at that Sue Bird dedication, heard Seattle's mayor tell a couple of reporters the city's closer than ever, his words, to bringing the Sonics back. That one wrinkle, as we have discussed on this show, it's what this show is all about. This new TV deal that is part of the discussion on expansion, and whether it's Warner Brothers Discovery, that's TBS TNT, will be able to find a seat at the table. Now, according to Deadline, the NBA is saying in a court filing that Warner Brothers Discovery simply does not have the cash to match the Amazon bid. As we've discussed here, Amazon, one of the three partners now with the NBA and this new $77 billion TV deal. So Deadline is saying that Amazon is willing to set aside billions of dollars in escrow for 3 years for this deal, while Warner Brothers Discovery can only provide lines of credit. So call it a poison pill, if you will, in this deal. But that is what the argument the NBA is saying now on why they need to move forward on this TV digital rights deal and basically end their partnership with Warner Brothers Discovery / TBS TNT that they've had over the last 30 years, is that Amazon has the money, Warner Brothers Discovery does not, and this expansion discussion will likely not be buttoned up, or may not be buttoned up, I should say, until this whole thing gets to a certain point where the NBA feels comfortable moving forward.
Yeah, and it's just, we want it to happen as soon as we can, so we can hopefully get going with expansion. But I like that term, buttoned up.
Well, you know what else is buttoned up? The Mariners have a certified hit on their hands. Hot dogs.
I'll tell you, and you know this better than most, the Mariners have this uncanny ability to come up with these ideas that just go national. First of all, we love them here in Seattle, but they go national. They become a huge deal. The entire baseball world loves it. And this hit they have right now is going viral. You're going to hear some great examples here of how it's gone viral, future plans for it. So Hot Dogs from Heaven For anybody outside Seattle, everybody in Seattle knows it. It's the notion that at random game, just before the 8th inning, they're going to start playing a certain song that we'll talk about in a minute, and you will see hot dogs attached to parachutes flying from the 3rd level, and you get a free hot dog. It's pretty incredible. How do you come up with this kind of idea? Well, that's what I wanted to talk with Tyler Thompson about from the Mariners. He's the brainchild behind a lot of these things. I love that the word experimental is in his title, about experimental promotions, because that's what this was, and it was a hit. So without further ado, my conversation with Tyler Thompson on Hot Dogs from Heaven.
It's been a totally cross-departmental collaboration. Everyone from our organization's getting in on it. We're all, chipping in different ways, from the ordering of the hot dogs to the, ordering parachutes and creating graphics for it, sharing it on social media, all the different parts of our organization. We're all coming together to make Hot Dogs from Heaven the best feature in baseball.
At what point in that brainstorming do you or somebody says, hey, I got it, let's chuck hot dogs from the 300 level?
It was early. I mean, really, we were talking about what we could possibly do for Hot Dogs from Heaven. A guy on our team named Malcolm says, what if we throw them on parachutes? And then that's when we all went to work and we said, let's make this happen. So our game entertainment team brought it to life.
And certainly I was fortunate enough to see the process.
Yes.
There's a lot of work that goes into that. And you mentioned it, cross-departmental. I mean, we're seeing, high ups in the front office and everybody get involved. I mean, how cool is it to see? It's a fun, unique concept, but everybody's taping hot dogs. It doesn't matter what position you might have or whatever.
Even back in the fall, it was totally a huge piece of teamwork from the Mariners. I mean, it was an empty ballpark. It was 40 degrees, and we had people from different departments going up to the 300 level and testing different types of parachutes, testing the weight of the hot dogs, the size of the parachutes. What if we put ketchup packets in them? What if we put mustard packets in it? Could we do both? And then eventually now on game days, we've got a whole group. We send an email out to our front office every time we do it. We say, come in here, help us wrap the hot dogs. So we get the hot dogs from Sodexo, usually a couple innings before the feature happens. We bring them together in one of our conference rooms at the ballpark, and then we do an assembly line. Someone's pulling the hot dogs out, quality check, make sure the hot dog's still warm, make sure there's ketchup and mustard in there. Someone's taping the hot dogs, passing it to the next person. Hole punching it, passing it to the next person, making sure that the parachute's on it to the next person, and then we got to roll up those parachutes too. We throw it two separate vehicles, so to speak. You've got the hot dog on one side, the parachute on the other side. They go together. You don't wrap the parachute around the hot dog. If you do that, it won't deploy. And then we bring all those people up here to the 300 level, 12, 15, 20, depending on how many hot dogs we do. Everybody throws them, along with, of course, Belinda Carlisle, who's a big part of the team too.
Yes, and so I was taping. I got to ask, did my tapings, nobody seemed to have gotten injured Friday, so I think we're okay, right?
Yeah, you did good. We could tell it was your first time. But overall, you're an honorary hot dog thrower to us, for sure.
I want to come back next year.
Yeah.
To have an idea like this and have it just explode the way it has, we'll talk about the national stuff in a minute, but even just with fans here in the park and seeing how much they enjoy it, how special is that?
Super validating. I mean, so much of what we do is qualitative versus quantitative in the game entertainment role. I mean, we get surveys from fans that say, we like this, we didn't like this is something that we should improve, but really what we're listening to is crowd response. We're listening to the noise that people make when we put a video up or a graphic up or one of our rally clips, and it's no different for Hot Dogs from Heaven. The first time we threw those parachutes back in April, we heard the crowd erupt. We knew right then we had a hit. So since then, we've been trying to do different things to make it better and get fans to want to pull their phone out and video it when we do it, make fans want to try to catch a hot dog. And since we've started it, every single time we hear that same crowd roar the first time you see parachutes come over the 300 level for the first time.
So cool. And we were talking off camera a minute ago about, obviously, the All-Star experience and seeing Chris Stapleton do it here. I mean, first of all, describe how all that went down, but then also take me through, again, a similar question to before, but that satisfaction that it's catching on that kind of level.
Yeah, I mean, we know that we've got a little bit of a hit on our hands. I mean, we think that the Hot Dogs from Heaven is something that could be here for years. I mean, it could be a Mariners Game Entertainment Classic, and to be part of the team that brought something like that, like the Hydros was before it, or people love the Cap Shuffle too, but to know that we may have something like that in our hands that fans look forward to year after year is really exciting. And to keep trying to think of new ways to versionize it and make it bigger and better every time that we do it is, super validating. That's my job, is like, all right, here's something that works, great. How do we give it to people? How do we keep making it better? How do we keep it a surprise? And like you said, we've done all sorts of things with Hot Dogs from Heaven this year. Not only have we thrown hot dogs 18 times at the ballpark to date, we've got a couple more we're still going to do this year for fans that are coming to the ballpark. So, but also, when the Toronto Blue Jays were in town, we said, how do we make this different? We did Canadian Bacon from the Clouds that day. We didn't play Belinda Carlisle. We played Bryan Adams' Heaven that day, a Canadian artist. I got to work the All-Star game in Arlington this year. There with the game entertainment team, people from around the league, and I said, I want to bring Hot Dogs from Heaven. They thought about it. They said, let's make it happen. So we ordered parachutes there, and then for that crowd, it was MLB's All-Star feature that year. We threw them. Chris Stapleton had noticed the feature. He wanted to get on the fun, so he had us put hot dogs together during his concert here, during the show Parachute. We've got all sorts of things that we still want to do, things in Hot Dogs from Heaven that we haven't unlocked quite yet, but are definitely thinking down the road and how to keep making this big, great, exciting, and like I said, baseball's best feature.
Chris Stapleton notices and reaches out. Take me through that process.
Yeah, so he's got a show back in July here, and somehow he had seen it on the internet. It's gotten tens, hundreds of millions of views at this point, and someone from his team said, Chris saw it, he wants to make it happen here, he wants to do it during his show, his song Parachute. So we said, all right, we're going to make it happen. But different at a concert than it is at a ball game is it's dark. So how are we going to make the parachutes light up? So we ordered little lights, we attached them to them, and then we had glow-up parachutes that we threw that night, and then we actually did it again during a drone show later this year, something that we're calling Dogs After Dark now, when we do it with the lights out.
You're just like, you come up with these slogans like in your sleep, don't you?
Yeah, I'm definitely the tagline, or I like to start with a name and then work backwards with it a lot of the time. So coming up with wordplay and different ideas and that kind of stuff, that's what I do.
And I suppose a similar question to what I said earlier, and I'm about to wrap up with these. I appreciate the time. The notion it doesn't matter what the score is. We always hope the Mariners win, obviously, but it doesn't matter what the score is. You're going to get somebody to be happy in that moment at the ballpark. And I know you do that with some of the other things you guys do in the production here at the stadium as well. But what kind of feeling is that, knowing that you can bring that joy, whether it's regardless of the outcome, or for maybe a little one that doesn't quite understand the game, but they know what that cool parachute is, right?
Yeah, here, win, lose, whatever happens, the Mariners are committed to doing a few things, and that's serving our communities, making unbelievable experiences for our fans, and of course, winning championships. I get to have a big hand in the creating unbelievable experiences for our fans, and part of that is how do we program our video board and all the elements that we have on a daily basis, whether it's a post-game fireworks show, 4 life-size salmon running on the field, or throwing hot dogs from heaven, and having fans take to it, love it, enjoy it, want to catch a hot dog, want to be part of the Hot Dogs from Heaven night that we had here earlier this homestand. It means the world to us, and it's validation that we've got great ideas here to see them through, and they could be a hit.
And knowing that the Mariners are known for this, coming up with these really cool and unique things, how special is that part of it?
It's great. Since I was a little kid and decided I wanted to work in sports, I've always looked up to the Mariners as the team that does things right, whether it was the commercials or any of the great pregame, ceremonies, Hall of Fame ceremonies, all the things. This has always been, the cream of the crop in sports, of sports marketing. And to be able to be part of the team now and have an impact myself, it's like a dream come true. There's no job in the world that I'd rather have.
Absolutely. So I have been rapid firing a lot of questions at you about this. Is there something about the production, the promotions you all do, or even Hot Dogs from Heaven that is important to talk about that maybe my questions didn't hit on?
Yeah, I just think really the thing that I want to drive home is, across the organization, how collaborative this is. From the time that we did it in the off season to now, everybody's had their hand in it, from procurement, ordering parachutes, partnerships, harboring the relationship with Hemplers, our social media and productions team for amplifying it, our game entertainment team, which I'm a part of, for executing it on a nightly basis, making it happen, making it big, to today. It's something that we're all really proud of and want to keep taking to new heights. One other thing I guess I should mention is Belinda Carlisle knows about the feature. She's seen it. She loves it. She wants to be a part of it somehow, so we're working on that. Maybe not this year, because she's got some things, tours, and recovering from an injury, but she knows about it and she wants to be out here sometime.
Maybe we can get her throwing a dog one day.
We're going to have to get Belinda Carlisle, or a live performance.
Oh, that too. Either one. Live performance while throwing hot dogs.
We got a whole list of things that Belinda could be part of. Belinda, if you're watching, we need you. One last thing for you.
Okay.
One last thing for you, Niko.
Oh my gosh.
As a hot dog thrower,
I'm official.
Stand, I want to present to you the official Hot Dogs from Heaven shirt. which we gave out to fans that bought the ticket. You're part of the hot dog plan now.
I am honored. I'm glad I didn't mess anything up, and I want to be on retainer.
Anytime.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm officially on retainer as a hot dog seller. Tyler Thompson, Senior Manager, Game Entertainment and Experiential Marketing. Excuse me, that's a tough word to say.
It is a tough
for
word.
the Mariners.
You know what else they do there a lot?
The strikeouts.
Is he responsible for that?
He's when he's not producing a game, they're coming up with ideas, but producing a game means pulling those sorts of things up and coming up with the ideas like the hydros, the salmon run. Like, think about all those things you enjoy about a Mariners game. That comes from Tyler and his team.
Has there been a tragic ketchup incident, though?
Well, I will say this. When we were taping the hot dogs, you saw ketchup poke through a few times. There was one time a parachute got a little bit loose and a hot dog kind of went down at full speed, but it looks like a gentleman caught it. I'm sure it's happened, but it's all in good fun.
Well, you and I have talked about this over the last few weeks as the Mariners have struggled on the field, just how many people there are working hard off the field like that to come up with ideas that capture the imagination of casual fans and people who aren't necessarily paying as much attention to what's going on the field. That does matter to the Mariners. I know they've been criticized about it over the years, but that is just one example, just showing your video there.
Yeah.
The amount of people who are behind the scenes, who are prepping all of this. I think often about people like Greg Green, who's worked at the Mariners now for, I believe, 20 or more years. Think about the hubbub a couple of years ago about Edwin Diaz with the Mets and that Timmy Trumpets song as he walked out with the Mets and the attention that got in the New York media and the national media. That was a Greg Green idea.
You're right.
When Edwin Diaz was with the Mariners. I mean, we're seeing this. It wouldn't surprise me at all if other teams start copying this idea. We've seen what the Mariners have tried to do over time too, with the lighting and the flickering of the lights after big hits and during the game. I mean, these are ideas that have caught fire that also get shared between teams across Major League Baseball. But it does seem like this is one of them that has definitely hit. And until somebody gets smacked upside the head with a hot dog or a mustard packet gets dumped over their head, they'll probably continue to do it. And I think you just got the scoop right there on Belinda Carlisle.
Well, wouldn't that be? We'll have to be there when and if she's there. And listen, I think it's important to showcase, like everything you said about that side of the Mariners. They're innovative. They're creative. I know fans may get frustrated with other parts of the team, but this is an awesome franchise that does these things. And hey, let's over the last month maybe hope that they can match it on the field as well, and they may very well do that.
We've still got time. This is something the Mariners still have time. We still have time.
The final buzzer.
For the final buzzer. What do you got?
My final buzzer is we're about to enter the best time, in my opinion, of Seattle sports. When the Mariners are hopefully in a playoff push, I think they will be. Football season starts. We didn't even talk about the Seahawks much in this show. I think they're going to be, I don't know what to expect specifically, but I think they're going to be pretty awesome. This is my favorite time of year in Seattle sports.
Huskies, Cougars, Kraken
camp,
Mariners, October, end of September, October
is the best.
Oh, with that crisp fall smell,
best time of year
in the air. It's the best time of the year. And what's been great this year is we've had this show.
Right. I mean, that made it the best year ever.
Yeah. We've already, over the last 12 weeks, we've had people like Kenny Mayne, Brianna Treat from Climate Pledge Arena talking about sustainability, the environment, Lenny Wilkins, UW Athletic Director Pat Chun, WSU Athletic Director Ann McCoy. Yes, both sides of the Cascades. Former president of Fox Sports Network's Bob Thompson. Last week, Peter Tomazawa from the World Cup organizing committee here in Seattle. All of that available on YouTube, on your favorite audio platform for download. People just need to smash that like button so they can get all of this information that they cannot get anywhere else.
Yeah, and think about it. Gary Payton was here, Xavier McDaniel, Marjan Beauchamp, Detlef Schrempf. We got the best on the Sonics, especially because you're in the room.
Well, we've got a minute every week at least dedicated to the Sonics, and maybe that time will continue to get more and more and more as we continue to move closer and closer to the end of this year. How about that for a tease as we close it out?
It's going to have to bring him back and take us out, David Lee.
You've been listening to Inside the Arena with Niko and Chris. Please subscribe on your favorite platform. Until next time.